We are speed and professionals in aeromatic. Welcome back, everybody. Glad you guys could tune in. Check out IED Racing Cage Build, #1 episode of that process and how I'm going to get a 750 certified cage, 25.5 spec cage into the Mazda RX-7 drag car. So this is a process. I've never done a 750 cert cage. I've only done an 850, and they were all pre-bent, pre-made cages that basically you just fit them, notch them, weld them in, you're done, certify the car for 850. We could do that with this one, but life's challenging. Might as well make it harder. So we picked up our chrome ollie tube, so we got that stuff down there. We aren't going to start just cutting that and fitting it since this is my first actual bending of cage using a tube bender. I'm going to try to do this a little methodically, and it's probably going to take me a little bit longer than some of you out there. But a couple of the things that I have found is figuring out the bends, where they need to be, how to connect the next bend, how to measure them. Done like as much research as I possibly can. Found out the easiest way is just bend some cheaters, and that gives you your angles of what this bender is going to do, because some benders are different, and then take your measurements from there. So I'll show you what I made. So now on my cage, most of these angles are all going to be two-dimensional, which means that they're basically just a plane. They're not like one direction, then kick out another way, and then kick out another way. Well, I shouldn't say that. The driver's containment for the funny car cage, that's going to be some weird three-dimensional bends. But for the most part of the cage, it's all going to be two-dimensional. So that's just a flat, plain bend. So what I did is, and nothing on my car is going to be over 90 degrees, which I don't even think it's going to be 90 degrees, but I bent a cheater to replicate a 90-degree bend, and then how long that radius of that bend is. So this is where the bend started, this is where it finished, and that's about 10.5 inches. Then I did a 60-degree, started here, bent it, went to here, 7.5. And then I did a 45-degree, started here, bent it, bent to here, that's 6 inches. So how I got there is I just basically made a bunch of marks on it, measured it off when it was straight, and that gave me how long that the actual bend was so that I can calculate that. And how I have this is I have my 60-degree bend for the bottom #1 bar, and basically like the #1 bar is going to look like this. So it kind of encapsulates for the drive shaft right at this point here. So my envision is to have a 60-degree bend here and then a 30 right here. So you have 30 on each side with the 60. So that should be a nice straight bar all the way across with the little dip for the drive shaft. And what I kind of did here is I went off my measurement for the end. So we can see here, so 18 inches to my 30-degree bend. And then that's going to eat up about 6 inches of tube in that bend. And then after 3.75, so 3 1/4, that's where the 60 degree is going to come in. And then I'm going to go up another 3.75, and then that bend is going to be the 30 degree, which is going to take up 6 inches of tube, and then 18 inches out. So even though that I'm only spanning about 55 inches across, I'm going to use 63 inches of tubing. So we're going to see how this works, and with the bends and the measurements, and hopefully that this is right. So this is going to be the first cut into the chrome ollie. So let's get after it. All right, here it is. So #1 bar is done. Everything's looking great. Overall length, so we had a beginning length of tubing at 63. With these bends that were incorporated here, it shrunk down to about 61. So I only lost about 2 inches overall length with all those bends, which is awesome. It's good to actually know that. Now I did equate for a little over 3 inches of end clearance because I didn't want this to end up short. So I am going to end up wasting 3 inches on each side, so 6 inches of tubing. It is what it is. For my first cut, I didn't want to be short and weigh 63 inches, so I figured give 10% on top of what the overall measurement was. We got the bend right in the middle, so I'll be able to just cut off each end and be able to start with the main hoop. So I'm probably not going to do a whole lot of documenting on the straight angle bars and things of that nature. Maybe just some of the methodical thought process of where those bars are going to locate. But pretty much I'm just going to really document the hard parts, like the number 1 bar, the A-pillars, the main hoop, and then the funny car cage. But other than that, moving to the main hoop, as you can see, a bunch of chicken scratch here and a dirty piece of paper as I'm working with my gloves on. But anyway, so from the bottom number 1 bar, we measure off to our first bend, 24 inches, 6-inch bend, which is going to be a 30 degree, 8 inches between the next bend, and we're going to go 60 degrees, which is going to give us our 90 degree angle here. And that's going to get us at the 7.5 inch mark. And then it looks like we're going 27 3/4 across to our next bend down. And then that's 7.5. Then we go to 8 in distance, same as the other side, 6 inch. Basically just duplicating everything to 24. So total length I have is 118 inches and 3/4 inches. And I'm about ready to cut that off my chromoly here. So this is where it gets nerve-wracking. Hopefully I don't mess this one up. All right, I'm almost out of breath. Got the main hoop all done. Pretty happy with how it turned out for my first bending of a main hoop here. It does kink in just a little bit if you go over the top. You can see how the angles kind of come in just a little bit off that side, which is fine to a certain degree, and then it'll rake back a little bit. But that'll give me enough clearance for the frame rails or the rockers on the side, and then still be able to tuck in nice and tight on the sides of the car. So let's get this in. One thing to note and to mention, so I do have this laying flat on the floor, and I am about 1/4 inch of a little bit. So obviously I came off plain, just slightly over all the bends, which for this much tubing, that's not horrible. Might be able to even fix that a little bit, or even like, you know, while I'm doing the welding for in the car, kind of just tweak it a little bit. Chromoly does have actually quite a bit of, I don't know, elasticity, tensile. So it moves, but it just has a memory and it finds itself. So it's really difficult to re-bend something, almost impossible. But this is where we're at so far. Let's get this in the car. We'll notch the ends and then see how it fits. All right, team. So today is end of day 1. So far, we got our number 1 bar in, which is great. It's our starting point. Then we have our main hoop, which amazingly, I mean, the fitment up here is just phenomenal. Just so good up there, all the way across. We got just perfect fitment here. I could probably rake this back even just a little bit more if I wanted to. It fits so well. It's just sitting in here and it just holds so nice. It looks so good. But even from this angle, so we'll just take a look. That's where the first bend and then our second bend, like everything just worked out perfect. And I had to angle these in just a little bit to get down to that number 1 bar and be able to still have full weld penetration around that. I'll probably have to pull that bar out, weld around this corner, put it back up, and then re-weld it out. But I mean, that is phenomenal. And then tomorrow we're gonna work on getting probably our rear bars mounted first that are going to locate down at the shock mount and then go up to the main hoop up top, just so that I can get some support for it tilting back. And then we'll work on the A-pillar bars, window bars. But yeah, once I have that measurement, then I can start the floor bars and then just start running straight tubes. Basically, I just don't know where the mount location is going to end up in the front for the door or the A-pillar and the front bar. And that bend is like literally the last two bars that are going to be bent. Everything else is pretty much going to be straight tubing. So it's going to go quick besides the funny car cage for the driver encapsulation. So once we're there, we're basically in a home stretch, and this thing's gonna come together pretty quick. I am, however, I have one full stick left of chromoly, and then I got that little short guy there. So I think that short guy is gonna be enough for me to do the main hoop to the shock mount locations. I should be able to get enough out of that one, but I haven't wasted any tubing yet. And literally just these two bars, the main hoop and the number one, used over a, half a stick of chromoly. So that stuff goes quick. All right, day 2. So I've already been working kind of this morning, just getting my mind wrapped around where everything's going to go and the easiest route. And I did decide, starting off with the down bars off the main hoop. So I've got these basically notched in place and then ran down to where the shock mounts are. So those will actually just kind of reinforce the hoop. So when I'm pressing back on it to do the A-pillar bar, and starting for the main halo, basically the roof bars, and then the ones that come down the A-pillar and then down to the floor. Now what I mean by that is basically this bar that comes down and then comes around. So I need to connect that number one bar that's going across the bottom here. I need to connect that to the front so I can basically box in the entire basically roll cage. And then I can start doing my upper halo bar, and my crossbars, the back ones. Probably won't do these cross ones until after I get these backs done, but I should be able to do at least both of these uppers and both sides that run across with the tubing that I have. So we'll give that a shot. We'll keep going off this schematic and show you guys where I'm at so you guys can follow along too, because obviously I'm envisioning this in my mind and I'm trying to get it out to you guys, but seeing it on paper is a lot easier. So far we've done the number one bar on the bottom, the main hoop structure, and then the rear down bars to the shock mounts. So now we're gonna go up here to the halo, as well as our A-pillar braces, and then down to the floor. So let's get after it. All right, everybody, so back to our dirty piece of paper. So as you can see here, I went through and did the A-pillar and roof bar. So with this, we're going to start here, run 19.5 inches to this 20-degree bend, which is going to accumulate to 4 inches of tubing. Now this 20-degree bend actually will need an offset of about 8 to 10 degrees, basically just kicked over to follow the A-pillar down. I'll kind of show you what I mean by that. But let's get the math done. Then we have 26 3/4. And then to our 45-degree bend down, which is 6 inches total in tubing, and then 20 inches down to the floor where we're going to have our floor mount. And I need to put a plate in there. Total I got is 76.25. Let's go over 76 1/4. Let's go over this 8 to 10 degree offset and what that means. So with this bar, we're going to come from the main hoop along the roof line and then down the A-pillar to the floor. So this is 20 degrees, that's 45. With this 20, we need an offset of 8 to 10 degrees, which the reason being is if you look straight down, the straight line of the roof actually has a kick. So we're actually making kind of a three-dimensional bend here to carry this A-pillar all the way down until we get behind where the actual dash mounts, because I want the bar basically to just tuck right through here and then go right down to the floor. So that's kind of where we're aiming. So with that, we have to equate this. Otherwise, if we just go straight, we're going to run somewhere here, and we don't want to do that. We want this bar to be over his tuck. With our measurements that we have, we should be somewhat close to at least get, and it would be awesome if I could get it right in there. That would be like the main goal. We're going to see how close we can get since everything else has been going pretty good. But let's get the measurements on the tube and get it in the bender. So, and as I'm going through the thought process of this in my head, and I could be wrong, somebody can correct me. But instead of starting at the top of the main hoop, which would be my 20-degree bend, I'm actually going to start at the bottom on the floor side. So I started my marks from where that's going to start. And I'm going to start at that point because on my 45 degree, I can go straight up from the floor and then straight to the top of the roof. But it's at that roof intersect point where it needs to kick an offset of 8 to 10 degrees to line up with the actual main hoop. So on that one, what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to jig this up, make my 45 degree bend, and then twist the bar, throw the angle finder on it to see that 8 to 10 degree offset, and then bend my 20 degree. And we should be good. So let's give it a shot. Well, I should say good or bad, this could be the passenger side or the driver's side, but we're making this for the driver's side, so I won't lie to you guys on that. So with this all mocked up at 9 degrees and then this on its plane of 0, and once I bend this direction, so the tube is going to put 20 degrees bend that way. Now if I rotate this to 90 degrees and I swing this down, now that bend is actually going to be 20 degrees down, but it's going to be angled 10 degrees that way, or 9.3 or whatever. So that's theory. I mean, it should technically, I mean, it's going to do the opposite of whatever I have this bent at. So if I had it bent down and then I rotated it up, it would kink it that way. So makes sense to me. Let's give it a shot. If anything, this could be our passenger side. Who knows? And we have a roof bar. Oh my goodness, look at that. All the way down to the floor. I did have to do a little modification in that corner, as well as a couple tweaks, but even from the front, oh, it looks so good. It just rides right along with that pillar. Oh, so much more tucked in than my convertible. Convertible was like halfway in my windshield. But if you look down here, so you see that guy? So I had to kick that a little bit. So I put a little, right after here, I put a little 10 degree bend just because I wanted to get it tucked in here really nice. We did accomplish that through where the actual dash mount is. So I'll still be able to use the factory dash mount, which is awesome. And then that just slides right past everything down to the floor. And then I'll have my bottom floor bar will run right across here, which this is all basically behind my pedals. So like my pedals right here, it's like even with those, which is great. But yeah, just perfect as to the fitment on how everything lined up, especially the roof. Like, I'm excited for that. Take a look from the back. I mean, you can see there, it's just perfect fitment when you go from where on the floor all the way up. I think I can even use my visors. I'll even be able to use the visors. Like, that is so sweet. Super cool deal. Really excited how this is turning out though. All the bends and measuring and all that for the last bar that I did. I'm just losing track of my hours and days here, but I'm going to end the video here. So basically, I'll give you guys an update shortly after this week, but all the videotaping and trying to like think through all the measurements and stuff like that. I'm trying not to mess this up. I almost came close on the last bar, so without giving you guys too much in one video and just dragging this one out. Basically, I'm just going to be duplicating what I just did on the other side and then putting the floor in. So got a little bit of tube left. I'll run through whatever I got left for that and then give you guys another video update once we're closer to getting this cage finished, hopefully by the end of this week. Appreciate everybody. If you made it this far in the video, remember, like, subscribe, share it with your friends. Really appreciate you guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll check you in the next one.